All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Soho Works 55 Water. I'm Monique. I'm the membership and events manager here. Thank you guys so much for coming. Love the full house. Anyone in the back, if you want to come up a little closer, now is your opportunity to get up close and comfortable. Otherwise, before I turn over to Aisha and our lovely panelists, I do want to offer a great opportunity. How many of you guys are not familiar with Soho Works? Okay. Rare. For those who don't know, we opened in 2020 and closed 7 weeks later, but we are back and busy. And so I would love to offer you guys a complimentary day at Works as my guest. Woo! You can just grab one of these. There's a couple of these around.
Yo, it is.
There's a membership and events email on the back. It goes directly to me. So if you want to come in, I'll give you a tour. We also have other locations as well. We have 10J, which is just 5 minutes away. We also have one in Meatpacking, one in West Hollywood, 5 in the UK, and are looking to expand to Portland, Austin, Miami. If you're a house member, you know that it's very beautiful up there, upstairs, especially in Double House, but it's not the most conducive to working. So as an example, you have to run across the room to take a phone call. You also have to close your laptop after a certain time. Soho Works, you can take a call wherever you like in the space, as long as you have your headphones in, and people are pretty mindful. This is an example of one of our communal spaces, and you can take a call anywhere you like in this space as an example. This is not even half of our space. We're spread over 45,000 square feet, so there's a nook for everybody. We also have meeting rooms, we have phone booths, we have complimentary coffees, teas, snacks, breakfast, just the whole shebang. So again, if you're interested, grab one of these. Again, they're on the table. Otherwise, I'm going to turn it over to the lovely Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique. Guys, that offer, so good, because being from LA, coming here to work, it's been so nice. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our Coffee and a Good Vibe live podcast event. My name is Aisha Sarah, and I'm the host of Coffee and a Good Vibe. And Coffee and a Good Vibe is a podcast that is all centered around mindset and entrepreneurship. And on the podcast, I always say that your vibe attracts your tribe. So just being here tonight, this is what it's all about. Connecting abundant humans in a room together over meaningful connections, conversations, good vibes, and good energy. So your time is all so valuable, and I just want to honor everyone for coming out tonight because we're going to have a very exciting podcast panel. And I'm so big on the content that we consume because the content that we consume truly plays such a role in the results that we get out of life and our reality. So on that note, I'm so excited to kick it off with this very intentional panel because we are joined by such rock stars in various industries, and they're going to drop massive value for you guys on the podcast tonight. So we're going to kick it off.
No pressure.
You're a podcaster. You got this. And then your mic should be. Okay, so in typical Coffee and a Good Vibe fashion, I'm going to pass the mic on over to each of my amazing panelists and get each of you to share a little bit of an intro on you. If you guys could each give us a little bit of a background into the abundant human that you are and the work that you're doing in the space with your brands.
I didn't practice this. This wasn't a question. No. Hi, I'm Leanne. I run a talent management company. We focus on digital creators, experts, and celebrities, and we help them fuel their brands and scale them.
Hi everyone, I'm Mona. I'm in the wellness space, so I'm a content creator. I really eat, sleep, and breathe everything: clean eating, wellness, health. I used to be a pharmacist and learned pretty early on that I hated working as a pharmacist, like day one. So I transitioned over into just sharing the passion I have for what I learned throughout my education and really what I was living, but also, finding my own creativity. So that's now what I do full time.
I'm Michael Chernow. I am formerly a restaurateur in New York City. I founded a brand called The Meatball Shop and another business called Seamores. I scaled those businesses and over a 12-year period of time, and recently, a year ago, launched a new business in the wellness arena. It's a lifestyle and wellness brand called Creatures of Habit. We make really awesome, nutritionally healthy habits. They're in the back over there. But it's really a superfood meal that I use to fuel my body for 18 years. And when I knew that I wanted to step into wellness, it was the first thing that popped up authentically for me. And so I've been doing Creatures of Habit for the last year, and it's kicking ass, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited for you guys to try it. But that's where I'm at right now.
What's up? Nate Forster. I am the CEO and founder of NEOU, a media technology company in the wellness space. So we've had a kind of a crazy journey. Excited to talk a little bit about that today. But we're very focused in the B2B space now. Started as a D2C company, made the pivot to B2B. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But formerly professional athlete, became an entrepreneur. So we've had a journey for sure. And I'll shout out my boy here. Go get some Creatures of Habit. I invested, so everyone should go and get some. No, but it's really good stuff. But I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, guys. So we're not going to waste any time at all on the podcast. We're going to kick it off with you, Leanne.
Awesome.
My first question for you. You manage some of the top influencer and celebrity talent in the game. And one thing that I absolutely love about you is that you don't just treat it like you're managing influencers, you treat it as you're managing empires. And I love that because each of the talent you represent, everyone has their own huge business. And you guys do huge collaborations and launches with different major brands in the space. Yeah. And it truly takes such a strong personal brand at the forefront to drive that brand awareness to the companies, the sales, the conversions. So I would love to ask you, what is the secret sauce, the magic formula to building a massive name for yourself in any industry?
Got it.
Loaded questions here.
No, I think it's going to be helpful just to understand the audience a little bit. So is this on? Is it like, can you guys raise your hand, like who's a creator here? Okay. Is anyone coming from an agency or a brand? Okay, it just helps cater the conversation. So yeah, I represent about 30 different content creators who all specialize in a lot of different verticals. And I've had the luxury and the honor to work alongside them from the beginning of their career. So we were able to really go step by step to build this blueprint that I wrote out. Just so I didn't forget anything.
All the value. This is recorded.
And there's two different lists. I made a general list of like how to think about scaling your brand, and then I made a list of like the 5 ways to actually do it. And then I'm going to keep it pretty brief, so then if anyone has questions, we can get into that. Okay, so this is, some of it's like a little obvious, but it's good to be reminded of this, and I'm sure you can speak to it as well. So the first thing I wrote down is really finding your passion and being authentic in the content you create. It's so obvious to me when I scroll. I'm a consumer first. So when I scroll through TikTok all day or Instagram, I know when someone's being genuine or authentic, and I can see if the caption's really coming from them, and I can tell if it's a brand writing the caption for them. So beyond that, it's also really important to find your passion, because you're going to be doing this for a very long time. So if you aren't happy and you're following the dollar, you're going to burn out so quickly, and there's no longevity there. The next thing is consistency. Consistency is so important when jumping into the content journey, because you need to be there every day to grow and foster that audience. And I've been doing this for almost 12 years. So my clients who in the beginning were so consistent on Vine and then jumped to Instagram, some of them died out. Like they couldn't keep up with the grind. So it's like, if you really want to be a content creator that is thriving, you have to have a schedule for your content, and you have to have, like, your audience needs to know when you're gonna post, and you know that they can expect content from you. That's how you foster that community, which helps return on investment for brands and helps build that community. Oh, I think I said that, and then the other 2 components to consistency are collaborations and creativity. We can go into that too, but the next thing I wrote down is you can't skip levels, and you have to build a strong foundation. I think that's important in any business and in any field you do. When I first started, I wanted to be where I am today, but it took me 12 years to get here. So I remember when I was an assistant, I was trying to sign clients and just not putting in the time that you need. And I think that's like a greater lesson of, you know, you can't have everything overnight. You can't have 10 million followers on day one because you're not going to know how to foster that community and what really works. I love this one creator that I follow, and she shared this TikTok about, you know, she had a thriving Instagram and she was trying to figure out her formula for TikTok because they're very different platforms and people engage with them very differently. And she did a whole YouTube video on once she found her formula and she created that content every day in that same like style of content, her following X'd it. Like she X'd it by 10 times. Like she grew 1 million TikTok followers in a few months, which is really good. And I think you need to listen to your audience and know what people are coming to you for and really narrow down that list of like when I do a strategy meeting with a client, I always say like, I try to understand the big picture so I can tell them like how to build the strategy in the beginning. So really taking the time to like understand your formula so that you can scale. Without that strong foundation, you're going to collapse. So this is an interesting one that I actually talked about with one of my clients, and it's something that I think about all the time. It's never settling into your success. Never saying, oh, I'm so successful, I got this brand deal, or I have 1 million followers, 10 million followers. It's really like, even for myself, people are like, oh, you have such a great company. Yes, we have some success, but in my head, there's a whole journey to accomplish. So I never get in my head of being complacent. I'm always thinking 5 years, 10 years ahead. Like, okay, this is working now. Is it going to work in 2 years? Is it going to work in 3 years? So while we're building revenue through brand partnerships, we're also diversifying income through monetization opportunities and IP and social venture, which I'm going to talk about. And then the last one is really studying the landscape. I study every creator. I can tell you within minutes if someone's buying followers, if the engagement doesn't work for their following. And it's really important to always know what creators are doing what and what brands are doing what. So you just know the landscape and you can kind of take inspiration and pivot and come back to what makes you you, because no one else can do that. So that's the general list.
A lot there. And we will have a live Q&A after, so if you guys have any questions, we're going to get interactive at the end, so it's going to be great. So,
and then I just had a quick 5 other list. It's really quick. I'll do this one quickly. Sorry. So to scaling a business, it's really important. This will be fast. So a lot of creators are one platform creators, and then they get to 2 platform creators. But in order to build a thriving ecosystem, it's really important to utilize every social media and understand the optimization values and monetizations that they offer. If you're going to create a piece of content, it's really important to put it on every channel. So if you're a short form content creator, why not put it on YouTube Shorts? Why not put it on Facebook? Why not go on Snapchat? It's building one of my client, Adam Wahid, who recently got Forbes top creator list. We've really been able to optimize every single piece of content that he makes, and it's been a game changer in terms of monetization for him and his business. So optimization, monetization. I wanted to add in that YouTube just announced today that they're monetizing YouTube Shorts. And YouTube has been such a platform for a long time that's been long form content favoring. Like they never had a Shorts feature. And in the past 3 years, they paid out $45 million a day to creators. So the monetization opportunities on YouTube is tremendous. And I really for a long time, my clients only focused on Instagram and TikTok, but now we're really focusing on the full ecosystem because of the opportunities to monetize. The next one is quickly IP. Owning IP and the brand extensions. It's really important for my clients that have that true engagement to diversify their income and own something. We have a whole products division of my company, and we've launched 2 clothing brands, 3 educational courses, and we have a lot of other things in the works. Social venture is something else that we're really focused on. And that's, we invest in companies through social media, and we'll trade posts for equity. And then investing and advising in companies. And the last one is partnerships, branded content, and charities. And that's the 5 steps. I'm done. I could talk for hours, so.
No, I love it. There's so much value there. This is recorded, so we can go back and re-listen and take notes, because I feel like that is all value. So my next question, I want to bring it over to you, Mona, because you've been an OG creator in the space since it began, and you've stayed relevant, you've pivoted, you've been on all different platforms, literally everything Leanne's saying, you've done it. I truly believe that. And I want to talk to you about this notion of the brand aesthetic of a brand, because they say, put out quantity of content and you'll win. When truly, if that quantity of content doesn't have a certain quality, that cohesive brand aesthetic that nurtures the audience with the value, it does not have the success that we want. And you've demonstrated this so incredibly well with your brand. Like, it doesn't only provide value, but the visual branding is so cohesive and just so, I love the aesthetic of it. So I'd love to ask you, what is the importance of creating a visually appealing brand aesthetic in the landscape of social today? And what was your process for creating your brand aesthetic to where it is now? Maybe some tips you can provide to a founder listening who's looking to really build and establish their visual brand identity for their brand.
I think I have a really strong opinion on this, because to some people will argue that it doesn't matter as long as you're putting out more content. I think both, because my thought is like, put out the most amount of content you can, but making it visually appealing. Like, I know me as a consumer, when I see something that draws my attention, like when it's a very clean aesthetic and certain colors I like I'll want to consume it more. I think if it's going to stop you from creating content, let's say you want to put out a video and it's a really good piece of content and you're like, but it doesn't look good. I think that's where it'd probably be more beneficial to share it. And we find such creative ways, like now with Reels, you can choose a different cover photo. So you can film the video, and then if you want your feed to look nice, okay, in this video I'm making a beet salad, but there's not a good shot. Let me get a really beautiful picture of a beet salad and then post it as a cover. And you can even change the cover photo on Reels now, later, which is a new addition, which I think is really cool. But interestingly, on TikTok, Gen Z really isn't into aesthetic. And I almost wonder if it works against you a little bit. So I try to keep, when people go onto my TikTok, I want them to know what they're gonna find. I want every cover image to have something to do with wellness or inspiration. But sometimes when it's too curated, they've almost moved away from it because they want it to be more raw and real. So I think you have to also cater to whatever platform you're on. But my thought in terms of sharing wellness and inspirational videos is, I guess I feel like I have more of a calming presence, so I like to bring that out in the video. So what energy is someone going to get when they're looking at this photo or watching my video? What's my message, and can I actually share that in the color scheme and aesthetic and font? If I was to do the very tacky but successful YouTube font, where it's yellow and exclamation marks and very in your face, I think that doesn't really resonate with the message that I'm trying to give in the video.
Totally, and I think it's about knowing your audience, and then also just yourself. If you're someone who likes to have everything, minimal colors or a more bold aesthetic. Michael, your page too on Instagram, it's so cohesively branded. It's such a different aesthetic than Mona, but it's your brand. Authentic. Yeah, it works.
It's interesting that you say that, because I've fluctuated over the years from super curated to not giving a fuck at all and just being and then going back to curated. And I've seen success in both, but now we're in more of a Zen spot where it's just, we're basically just let's just make it all feel a certain way, just like you said, right? When people come specifically, not on my TikTok page, there's only one thing happening there. I'm not doing any fitness. I'm not doing any nutrition. All I'm doing is talking about life experience. And so every single feed, in feed post is me, 2 camera talking head. And that's worked well on TikTok for me. And I think and I think it's a little bit different, the experience for the consumer on Instagram and TikTok, whereas TikTok, I feel you have to find your lane and like if you try to be all over the place on TikTok, you're lost.
The algorithm too rewards you for being like niche down.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And I also think it matters if you are a CPG brand or a personal brand. I've had on a lot of different founders and founders who, like all of you guys have personal brands. You can be more messy and like less curated, but if you are a CPG brand, I think there's so much more value in being more curated.
I mean, Creatures of Habit, the grid is like 100% cohesive.
Yeah.
We stay.
No, I love it. Perfect, because my next question is to you, and I want to go into another topic of brand and business building, which is so key, and that is relationships. Because relationships are everything, right? They serve when you're looking for investors, when you just want advice from peers, when you want to build community. And you are the king of relationships. You've demonstrated that with your background. If people don't know, like you worked in the hospitality industry, with everything you're building with Kreatures, also fellow podcast hosts. And relationships are so important on this medium in particular. So I'd love to hear from you. You know, how can someone build their repertoire of relationships and personal network? And part two to that question that I do want to ask is, you know, when someone has a solid network, how can they manage and nurture all those relationships? Because I think that there's an art to doing that, because no one wants to be that person who only reaches out to someone when they need something.
So I feel very passionately about relationships. I am not a smart guy. Like you put academically, I am not interested. But you put me in a room with anyone, and I shine, and that's something that I learned about myself early on, and that ultimately that's why I think I landed in the hospitality business, because I love communicating with people, I love connecting with people, and I believe it is somewhat of a superpower, not only of mine, but like if you have that, it is a superpower in general, right? Like if you can figure out how to acclimate and make people feel good. Genuinely, not like trying to screw them over, like actually like want to listen to somebody and be an observer and also, you know, communicate and connect. It's been my number one platform for success in everything I've done in my life. And so, you know, I've said it many times, the business of business is relationships. The foundation of relationships is trust. And people at the end of the day, like you could be very, very smart with financials. But if nobody likes you, it doesn't matter how smart you are with financials. It doesn't matter how well you can manage a P&L. If nobody's buying your shit because they don't like you, it doesn't really matter. And that's what I've learned over the years, which is like my job as an entrepreneur, as a husband, as a father, and as a human is to really triple down on my on my assets, which is my ability to connect with humans. And it's worked out really, really well. And I think if there is, you know, and I also think that there are certain people that have it and that don't, right? And I think that if you struggle with connecting, if you struggle with being the first one to, you know, say something, if you feel uncomfortable in those environments, you know, I would just say you can get better at it. It just takes practice like anything else. I think that there are certain people that are obviously naturally inclined to be like outspoken and like the life of the party. And but I do know that at the end of the day, like this EQ thing that was not talked about for many, many years, you know, it was basically like if you went to Harvard, you have a good shot, right? If you went to Stanford, like you're in. And by the way, still like totally viable, right? Like if you go to Harvard, you probably have a better shot, right? But like, you know, and I can only speak from my experience authentically. Like, I didn't go to college, you know, and that has never once in my entire life. Now, I've never tried to be a lawyer or a doctor or anything like that, but like it's never ever gotten in my way. So I would just say, you know, and I'll finish with this one story. So I was sitting with a mentor of mine years ago he's basically Danny Meyer's business partner at Union Square Hospitality Group. And we were sitting at Maialino, and I would meet with him on a quarterly basis, one of the most amazing dudes in my life. His name is Richard Crane. This guy's running like one of the biggest hospitality groups in the country, right? Union Square Hospitality. And he would take these quarterly meetings with me, and we were sitting there one day, and he watched somebody walk into the restaurant. We were sitting having brunch and or breakfast, and he saw somebody walk into the restaurant and nobody greeted the person. And that was like, so like, you know, that is just not how it goes at Union Square Hospitality, right? Like somebody fucking walks in the restaurant, there's like 19 people that run to you. And he looked at them and he looked at me and he goes, look over there. And he sees, you see that person right there? He goes, that's a relationship waiting to happen. And if we don't take the opportunity to develop it, somebody else will. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like I watched that person completely confused and like uncomfortable and like not sure what to do. And he was basically like, we lost her. And that to me was like turning the key and being like, you never want that to be the case. Develop as many relationships as you can, and you know, and success will be poured out for you. So,
gems, just so many gems right there. Listen to his podcast. Plug your podcast.
It's the Creatures of Habit podcast. Funny enough.
So next, we're gonna throw it over to Nate. Nate, you are the one that everyone goes to for advice, for mentorship. I think it's all through your background of scaling so many companies and also former athlete. I feel like you always have the best wisdom gems. So I'm gonna let you take this question where you would, but with your career being an entrepreneur, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned in business that you can share with us today? Maybe that lesson that's gonna, you always tell me, like, experience, maybe this advice that's going to save someone a lot of time and money to learn.
Yes, let's talk about it. I'm disappointed you didn't ask me about social media, because I'm no, my team's here, they're probably laughing. I post maybe once a year on Instagram. My head of socials back there like, oh, this is bad. So, and one thing on what Michael said, which is the relationship side, which he's phenomenal. We have a great relationship. That's a huge piece of everything. So if you're taking anything from today, relationships are massively key. I've raised a lot of money for a lot of companies, and if you don't have the relationships, it doesn't matter. And not only did I not go to college, I didn't finish high school either. So it doesn't have to go that way if you don't want it to. So let's see, one good gem. This is a new one. Let's see if you guys can keep up on this one. And this I'm still working on. It's speed and patience. So I believe in a company, when you build it, you have to have speed. So when you're hiring employees, when you're doing things, when you're trying to be efficient and you're trying to curate and get things done, you have to have speed. Slow companies die. That's just my thought. I think if you look at a lot of companies that have been very successful, it's about speed. And speed doesn't always have to be, you know, 1,000,000 miles an hour and it happens in a week. There's different ways to look at it, but it's speed. You have to move with urgency 24/7, or someone will beat you to it, or you'll get left behind, or it just won't happen when it needs to happen. And it's okay to make mistakes when you're going fast, because everyone's gonna make mistakes, right? But you have to continue the speed. But where it gets really tricky is on the patience side. Because while you're executing and you're moving so quick internally, externally, when you're trying to get results, you have to have patience. Because it takes time for all that speed and all the things that you're doing internally to get the results externally, for the revenue to come in, for the new partnerships to work. Make the mistakes. That partnership didn't work, but another one will. To see it all come together, you have to have a ton of patience. But then you have to have speed. So it's really it's a tricky thing to manage. I work very hard at it, and I have a lot of really great mentors that continue to teach me it. But every day that I wake up, I think about everything that I need to get done. I have to have that urgency. I have to have speed. And then I need to take a step back once we get those things done. Okay, let's wait and have some patience and make sure that those results come in. And then we'll start again. And we'll start again. But I do believe a lot of people get complacent. They do not move with urgency. You have a mission, you have drive, you have something you want to do. Pretend that there's somebody else trying to do the same thing, and they want to beat you. And that's a little bit of the pro athlete in me talking there, but I promise you they exist. So have the urgency, and then show the patience for the results.
I couldn't agree more.
I love that. I need that on repeat. I'm just gonna listen to this every morning. So my next question is for the whole panel. You know, you guys are all on these abundant missions, chasing huge goals, innovating on businesses and brands. And I gotta ask you, what is it all for? It's a loaded question, but what is your internal why behind what you're doing in the world and what you're creating? What are your internal drivers that keep you going, wake you up in the morning, hungry to get after it? Because especially when, you know, we hit adversities and roadblocks in the journey, these are the things that get us going. So, would love to hear it from you guys.
Who wants to go?
Hit it.
Go ahead.
All right. It's a good question. I had a podcast called Born or Made for about 1.5 years where I asked this question specifically. I'm really interested to seeing what drives people to do what they do. I think for me, I'm a ferocious hunter. I am a discovery junkie. I like wake up every single morning fired up to lift up rocks and like see what's under there. I mean, I literally do that with my kids. Actually, we go into the woods and we fucking lift up rocks, and we're salamander hunters, but we're hunting. You know, but I am, and there was a period of time in my life where I didn't care. I was I was an addict. I was an alcoholic. I was a drug addict, and I figured out a way to get out of that a long time ago. And since I was able to change my life, I really have become passionate about living every day, not like it's my last, but it's like it's my best. Like I want to earn and appreciate every single moment of every single day. So when people ask me why, like why do you have to go so hard in the gym? Why do you have to eat so healthy all the time? Why do you have to create another business? Why? And I'm like, why the fuck not? Like, why wouldn't you? Why would you let life pass you by? Why would you sit back and watch other people crush it? You know, and that doesn't mean that like you can't have a balance in your life and like take days off and enjoy the fruits of your labor. But I believe that I am motivated by curiosity, discovery, and wanting to push it on the board. And I think that's what's driven me, and I think that's what drives a lot of successful people. This idea that like, why not? Why wouldn't I put the pedal to the metal? You know.
Love it.
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Sure. I actually love this question because I never even realized, like, when I was working at the pharmacy, like, I'm just going to be totally real. My thought was, okay, I'm just going to get married and be a mom and like probably not work that much at some point in my life. So it wasn't like I had this passion career. It was like, I'm Persian, so you go to school, you get educated, and you work and make some money. And then I realized while I was working that there was something I was really missing from college, which in college I was like always working towards this goal. It was like 6 years, okay, 5 years to go, 4 years to go. And I had this thing I was working towards. And then when I would work at the pharmacy, it was just, I was going in there and clocking in and out every day. And I was like, this is kind of it, or this is my life. And I realized I really wanted like something to work for and something to look forward to. So when I discovered that I wanted to go down this creative path, I just had this moment where I was like, I will do this for free for the rest of my life, even if I never make money, because I love it and it like excites me and it like lit some kind of fire inside me. So I think everyone should do what makes them happy. Like actually, some of my roommates from college love that they work at the pharmacy and they don't have to think about it when they get home. They just want to work 2 or 3 days a week, be a mom. And that's totally fine. That fulfills them and they have other things. I think sometimes you don't even realize that you might have more inside you until you discover it. So if you just keep like testing out different things and just seeing what kind of lights you up, because as soon as you know, you're gonna know. So for me, it's fulfillment. Like even if it's not necessarily like a specific career goal that I want to hit. I just know that I love it and I'm so passionate about it that I just feel like I have to share it. When I learn something, I get excited to help people. So that's my drive.
Take a shot. We're very similar. So I'm very competitive. So my team will again laugh at that one. I've been competing my whole life. It means something to me. Maybe sometimes too competitive, but winning is huge. It doesn't matter what the wins are. It can be really small wins, like just waking up in the morning and feeling good. That's a good win. Or it can be really big wins, but I'm competitive and I love to win. And that will always be something that drives me. But I'm gonna talk about a little bit of a different one here that you may not hear all the time. Aisha's heard me talk about this a bunch. One of the biggest reasons why I do what I do today is because I want to help my whole entire team win. Something that drives me a lot is the people that work for me. So it's not about my success. This may sound a little bit crazy, but I know that I'm going to be successful. I just know that. I'm confident. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. It's the 50 employees that I currently have today that work for me that I want them to think the same way. And I want to help as much as I can to get them there. So whatever I can do to help them at their job, to give them the opportunity to be successful, to get a win for them, because at the end of the day, it's my job to do that as a CEO, is to empower them to be really good at what they do. I want the team to win. And there's a bunch of my team here today, and I talk about it all the time, but without them, I have nothing. Like, it's a team sport, right? I was a professional tennis player. It was not a team sport. This is a team sport. I'm only as good as my team. I can't do everyone's job. Similar to Michael, I'm actually not that smart, probably much less smart than you are. But I surround myself with really smart people, and I hire really talented, really smart people. And I think that that's important. And for me, it really drives me to help them get their wins and get them to be successful. Because at the end of the day, if you can do it with a lot of people and people you love and the meaningful relationships, that gets it done for me.
I love that. I think why I do what I do is twofold. I love being in service to other people, and I really am fulfilled when I'm giving. And simultaneously, I think growing up, I've always loved the art of the deal and meeting people. And I have two best friends from middle school here, and I was always creating businesses and selling nonsense at a young age for fun. And I think I was really inspired by like hip hop growing up, and the way that it brought people together and really brought together a community and uplifted people. And I wake up every day and I absolutely like have this fire inside of me, and I'm excited to talk to people. I'm excited to talk to my clients and create these deals. And it's really the best of both worlds, because I think the more love you give is the more love you receive. And it's this balance of like thriving and creating all these opportunities for my clients, and also knowing that I'm servicing them, and that makes me happy, and knowing that they then can affect millions of people. It makes me so happy.
Love that. You guys are gonna eat the next question up. I just know it. I want to talk about a topic that I don't think is talked about enough in business and entrepreneurship, and that is mental health, mental well-being, mental wellness. Because I feel like in these journeys, we're all on these abundant life journeys, and sometimes in the journey, I can speak for myself in this, we get caught up placing our happiness outside of ourselves. We can say things like, once I sell my company, once I hit X income goal, once I meet this person, then I will be happy. But when we place our happiness outside of ourselves in external things, it's forever a losing game. And I think it's just so important to be happy and fulfilled wherever you're at in your journey and every single day of life, because life is the journey. So would love to hear from you guys. How do you stay so happy, grounded, and fulfilled every single day of life? And this could be habits, routines, mindsets you instill in yourself every day, just the things that you do daily, a part of your life that keep you in check. Because I also think with social media, it's a beautiful thing, but then you can get caught up in other people's ideals of success. So just like, how do you stay super intentional and happy at the end of the day?
This is so loaded for me. I have mantras that I start the day with that I repeat over and over, and it's really changed my life adding those in. And I study Kabbalah, and I've been studying for 4 years, and that definitely helped reset the framework of how I think about things. And I'm a strong believer that everything that goes wrong in your life is redirecting you to something that's going to work out. Everything keeps falling off my lap. We're gonna let it go. And I think that you have to really practice these things, and I'm really intentional about the deals. I have this rule that we actually talked about on the podcast. I said, once I think about my commission in any deal, the deal doesn't happen. So I always have to take myself out, and I never think about what I'm gonna get, because once you make it about yourself, you lose everything. And I think more importantly, like, you can't place your happiness in someone else or fulfillment in a job. You have to really have this inner peace with yourself. And the second you rely on anything for your fulfillment or happiness, it's not gonna work. And I think I had to understand that. So I've been implementing just being kinder to strangers and just having that connection. That fills me up, so I can, just no matter what, know I'm gonna be okay and happy, and it's all good.
Sorry, turn the mic off. So it's interesting for me because I've kind of blended my passion into my career, where there isn't really a separation in terms of like my job and my life. And I did that with intention. So it's great, and it can be a curse too, because then you never really know when to stop. And at first, when I made the transition from 9-to-5 pharmacist to content creation, I was like, this is a dream job. I'm so happy. But then after 3 or 4 years, I realized that I just really wasn't into it, and I felt like I wasn't inspired, and I realized that I was just at that point really going for the metrics, like what's best practice, like what the things that didn't really feel good in my soul, I was just doing because I wanted to get more success. And it made me really take a step back. I actually took a pretty substantial break off social media and just felt like I don't want to do this unless because the whole reason I created this career for myself was because I loved it. So actually meditation and spirituality really, really reset me. I had meditated for years, but something just wasn't hitting. I was trying TM, and then I started a new form of meditation, and it really just, I swear it works, because people used to tell me it works, and I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I guess I feel good for this 20 minutes. But I mean, everyone in my life had noticed a difference. I just felt more gratitude and happiness and joy. I think I stopped taking things so seriously and realized that when you do everything a little more lighthearted, it makes everything better. So I have a very grounding morning. I meditate every single day. It's my number one priority. I would rather miss a call or a meeting if I can't meditate. And moving my body also really helps. They both give me a different form of meditation. So I like my meditation, exercise. I keep my phone on airplane till 9 a.m. And then when I'm ready to start my day, I just feel a lot more grounded.
Love that. It's also a lot of self-awareness. Everyone has that, because you know what you need.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I think you do what makes you feel grounded. Journaling doesn't really do it for me. And I know it works so well for other people. So whatever your thing is, if taking a walk is your meditation, whatever makes you feel, don't necessarily follow someone else's path there.
I gotta go before Michael, because we're gonna have a lot of similar here, for sure. Quickly, for me, it's simple. Habits and health is wealth, right, bro?
Let's get rich.
Yeah, so I think you have to eat well, and nutrition's really important, what you put inside your body. And then on the fitness side, you don't have to be crazy and try to go to the CrossFit Games and, or win the New York Marathon. But you should try to do something. You need to move, you need to use your lungs, use your heart. It's really important. So I think everyone here should understand that, if you have a healthy body, strong mind, I think there's a lot of connection there. For me, other than that obvious one, I had to find things that I could do that I enjoyed and still challenged me outside of work. So I love to work because it's challenging. And again, it's competitive, and I want to go to battle. I love that. I needed to find things outside of that. Also, being an athlete my whole entire life, I need that. I feed off of it. So golf has become really big for me, and just playing it and competing and trying to get better and doing all of that. And it can be anything. It just happens to be golf for me, but I needed something that I could go and do that was challenging enough to where I really had to focus on it. Otherwise I would suck, and I don't want to suck. So you really have to focus to play well. And I think you have to find some things that take you away from what you do every day, that gives you some balance. So look for those 1 or 2 things that you can get after.
So I feel pretty fortunate that I love everything I do in my life today. Like I genuinely do. I love my job. I love my business. Everything is for my family. That's the truth. My wife and kids. I live for my wife and kids. And of course I love movement but one thing that I want to say is I think what ultimately gives me this opportunity to genuinely appreciate those things and actually like get out of bed with intention every morning is my commitment to myself. Me being the number one priority in my life. And I put myself before my family. I put myself before my business. I put myself before my friends, and not in a selfish way. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning to do 2 hours of self-love, self-care work so that I am a better husband, a better father, a better business owner, better business partner, better friend, better son sometimes. But you know, I really do, and I am a very, very, very structured individual. I've got a long list of things that I do every single morning that are, you know, in a succession that really works for me. I think it's also probably I have to do that in my life because I genuinely love discipline, and like you, like I love the challenge of it. But ultimately, I want to be the most present person I can be for my wife and kids, and then my business. And the best way to get there, because I know those things make me really happy. And the best way to get there is to really take care of me first, you know, and obviously the age-old saying, like, the plane's going down, you know, put the mask on yourself first so that you can be available to help the person next to you. And I take that very seriously. I love waking up super early in the morning, having an hour and a half to 2 hours of time by myself to pour in all the energy I can into my self-care, self-love stuff, and I don't say that like I say that like I really mean that. Like I really think about it as self-care and self-love. I'm not afraid to say it. You know, all the things I do early in the morning are really there to make me feel like a better person, and then that allows me to be the best possible dude I can be in life. Not every day is a win, you know, but I do my best to put my right foot forward. You know, if I get caught like I did last night in a YouTube black hole, you know, because I'm in the city and my wife and kids are upstate and I'm like by myself watching like CrossFit games from 2008 to 2022, I get caught there. But, you know, every day is an opportunity to win. Every day we get given this awesome opportunity to start fresh, like every single day. You cannot do shit about yesterday. Nothing has ever been able, no living organism, jump back into yesterday and make a change. So every single day we get this opportunity to like start fresh. And you can take it or not. And you know, I choose to take it. I think it's where we, you know, living with intention is important. It makes me happy.
Well, that was so good. And it's so true too, like with, you know, I get to interview so many different people, and one of the things that I always like to say, it's like about adopting what serves you. Like there's all these tools, right? Everyone drops so much value, but it's like knowing yourself and being like, okay, I vibe with that. Like I don't want to wake up at 4, like knowing yourself and then adopting that, because obviously that's going to be what's going to be best for you and in your highest good and going to serve you the most. So we're going to open up the floor to you guys. There are so many different things we talked about, so like anything is open game. You guys can direct a question at anyone. You can ask anything, the whole panel. Who has a question? Anyone have a question? This always happens. Whenever you do like a Q&A, no one raises their hand and everyone goes at once. Maybe. If there is any questions. Yeah. And yeah, you get to speak it into the mic too.
Sure, why not? You guys are really interesting. I guess my question is for anyone here. What has been your biggest challenge when starting and scaling a business, or challenges?
Mine's easy. I don't know if yours is easy. People. People's the hardest thing in the world. It will always be. Nothing's even close. Finding the good ones, understanding who's not good, making that mistake, understanding it, being accountable for it, making a change. People, hardest thing. It's not even close for me.
You mean like talent, like finding?
Hiring and firing.
I think mine sort of has something to do with people. I've always actually been good at finding people. The hardest thing.
Here.
What?
The dream team is here.
They're here. The squad. Part of the squad is here.
No, I think the team. I have a great team. I'm a bunch of them here too. I think just for me, it's like the
initial piece.
Right, just like understanding finding the right pieces, who's doing what. Like people is always going to be like, you know, one of the.
I think my biggest hurdle always has been very much like bouncing off of what you said earlier, speed and patience. In startup phase, it's not about trying to grow as fast as possible, but it's about trying to get shit done. Like the slower you move getting things done, projects done, and I think what slows that down a lot is specifically as a founder, the people that you surround yourself with look at you as the founder. And so typically, if you're not very specifically empowering them to make decisions, like we're a baby company, if I have to make all the decisions as a founder, it doesn't make any sense to have you guys here. So empowering the team to be like, okay, whether you crush it or not, make the call. I'd much rather you come to me with I fucked up, than hey man, we got a problem. You know, like I think the directive is trying to empower the people that you surround yourself with specifically in the beginning to just make decisions.
That's the perfect example of why people is so hard, because you have to find the ones that will make the decision and then have accountability for the mess up and learn and get better, instead of having other people check other people's work and then that person's checking this person's work and then all of a sudden I'm paying 15 fucking people to do the same job.
But I also think that like as the founder of a company in the early stages, it's not only you empowering them, it's you actually having the confidence to take the accountability for everybody's mistake and really just entrusting people that you've made a great decision by bringing this person on your team and giving them like actual autonomy to go out and make decisions. Because and that's where the speed part comes in, right? Like if people aren't making decisions around you and you're a lean and mean team, you're screwed. Like you have to have people that are like, and if they don't have the confidence, but you really like them, continue, like make it part of your job to over and over say, hey, Sarah, you've got this. Fucking make the call. Don't ask me again. Go for it. This is your shit. Own your department. Own this category. Go. And when she wins, high five and hug. And when she fails, high five and hug. You know what I mean? Because like failure is part of the shit. It's part of the game. If you're not failing, something is wrong, you know? And I don't mean like, you know, throwing in the towel failing. I mean like if you're not making mistakes on a regular basis, chances are, specifically in startup, like I did a, I've never designed clothing before. And so part of Creatures of Habit is this like, is this apparel piece of the puzzle. And so there's the nutrition component, very confident. Apparel, love apparel. Not a designer. Just never done it before. Figure like, fuck it. Well, throw it up against the wall, see what happens. We designed these awesome clothes. I decided to say, you know, all the people that have been making these blank t-shirts and blank hoodies and blank sweatpants, they've been doing it for hundreds, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I am gonna design the best. And it just so happened that we ordered 500 hoodies and the sleeves were short. Like, you know, they fit me. But you know, like I was like, you know, just like every size we go up, make it like 3/4 of an inch longer.
Oh, that's why when I ordered mine, you're like, no, get a large, get a large.
Yes. So like, you know, you live and learn, and it's like, and it's funny, and it's not funny. I mean, it sucks, but it's kind of like you laugh at those things now. Hopefully, it doesn't take you out. But like, if you don't have the confidence to see like a problem and then grab the sledgehammer and fucking smash the wall to like get to the root, the chances of success are slim to none. That's the way I see it.
And just the last piece I would add there, 2 things to look for when someone, because you're gonna get a lot of applications, you're gonna look at a lot of people that wanna come and work for you. 2 things that are, I think, the most important, I think Michael would agree. work ethic and accountability, because he just talked about it 17 times. They could go to Harvard or Stanford, amazing, awesome, that's really cool. But if you don't have work ethic and you don't have accountability, it's really hard to have urgency and to accept responsibility, fall on your fucking face and get back up and do it again and do it better. And so that's two things that I always look for.
These are good answers. Who is a question? I think there was a hand back there. Yeah?
Yeah, I don't need a mic unless it's going like whatever. So traditionally, like being an entrepreneur was, and we're going back like 50-ish years, was like for the fuck ups, the outcasts, like the people who didn't really fit in a box. And I'd say like over the past 5, it's become really like cool to be an entrepreneur, like be out on your own. And if I were an employee at a company and I earned a good living and I could like have a good life, but I wanted to do that. I wanted to like take that leap to be a master of my own universe. How would you tell someone looking for that first step, like, hey, I have a job I go to 9 to 5. I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. I want to try to like figure out if this works and not just consume my entire life. Like, what's that first step for people? Because I think people think you just like become an entrepreneur and then you're rich.
You said you don't want it to consume your entire life?
Like, yeah, if I have a job and I want to explore it, how do you even understand how to earn your own money? There's a difference between making money and earning money, and like being able to create money from an idea is not the same as going to work and making money. So like people are like, oh man, I'm going to start my own business. I'm like, oh cool, what are you doing? And they're like, how do you actually make it to make money? So I think a lot of people just think it's cool to be like, insert cool word that is going around on social media right now, and they just think they can like, invent money out of thin air. So how would you say, okay, I want to leave my job and start my own company? Like, what's your advice?
I mean, I'll take this. So I worked at a talent agency that specialized in celebrity endorsements before I started my company, and fortunate for me, they treated me like shit. So I one day like did the math on how much money I'd earned the company versus how much they let me take home, and I quit 3 months later. But the catalyst was a friend calling me every day, why don't you have your own company? When are you gonna start it? So I decided to quit on my birthday, and I started it the next day. And I thought I wanted to start a talent agency, and in year 2 I pivoted and built a digital management company, and I have no blueprint for that, and I still don't have a blueprint for that. But I have visions very clearly in my head of what I want to achieve, and I don't stop until I achieve it. So I think it's like, it's okay to change paths when you start something. It's okay to not know exactly what it is, but if you are eager and consistent and keep pushing yourself and never give up, because you're gonna fail, but that failure is a lesson. So never looking at like a door shut as a bad thing. You're just that much closer to a door opening. It's just that knowingness inside of you that you have, that if you want it, it's gonna happen. And then just testing the market and experimenting. A lot of my clients don't know in the beginning of what content's gonna hit, but you have to experiment. The same thing with the job. So just to back up, like I started a music agency when I first started, and I realized 8 months in, I was like, I really am not happy doing this. And I pivoted, and that's okay. So I think it's just knowing that you want it and making sure you actually want to commit. I think that's the biggest thing, committing.
I will say, so I was working as a pharmacist, and I basically took 3 years where I was doing both, because I was like, I need to pay my bills. Like, I can't just become a content creator. So every day I'd get like done at the pharmacy at 5. I would like drive across town in LA to take hosting classes for like an hour, and then I would stay up till like 11 or midnight working on it. And it wasn't work. Like, I wanted to do it so badly. It was all I cared about. So I think when you're starting, if you're doing something like that you want to start that's not your normal job, I feel like you have to love it, or else why would you want to work hard at it? Because you're not going to make money in the beginning. So once I started making money, I was like, okay, now I can quit the pharmacy. And I won't even get into this partnership that I got into that I thought could like get me out of the pharmacy, but basically like I fell flat in my face after a year and had to go back to the pharmacy, which was the worst thing ever. So then I started working part-time and moved in with a friend and just paid her rent to like rent one room out of her house. And then again, after 2 or 3 years, I was eventually able to make, because it's scary when you go from making a salary to like, oh, I'm not going to make money unless I actually earn it every time, and it might be unstable from one month to another. So just sharing my experience, I liked doing both so that I had a little bit of a cushion instead of just jumping.
I just add one other thing to that, which I mean, when you asked the question, I was thinking about like my experience going from working as a technician in hospitality to actually opening up a restaurant. And I think for me, first of all, I would just say out the gate, like, you gotta have balls, right? Whether you're a man, woman, or other, you just have to have the ability to just say, I'm gonna do this, right? That's one, and I think everybody has it in them. You just gotta dig a little deeper, like you were saying earlier. But one thing that I think is really important, and I know I said the business of business is relationships earlier, but I also believe the business of business is storytelling. And if you don't have a story, if your business cannot clearly tell the story of the business by the user experience, people aren't going to want to listen, right? Like, human beings love to hear stories. It's just, since the beginning of time, there's been like fireplaces and like the chief and like telling stories and like everybody listening and everybody excited and like the old grandmother that tells the story. All the kids are like engaged, and like that's like human condition. People want to sit around a fire, want to listen to great stories. And the great storytellers are the ones that everybody looks to for the storytelling. And so I think like one of the biggest pieces for me over the years in developing brands and businesses has been authentic, real stories that I want to tell. And I've had a billion stories that I've wanted to tell, but only the good ones have I taken to fruition, and they've worked. So I really do believe that there's something very, very strong, there's something very, very important about having a real story. And if it's not real, it's like buying a brand new vintage t-shirt. Like, everybody fucking knows that thing is like, you know, was made down the block. Like, it's not real, you know? And so like, you don't want to be the brand new vintage t-shirt company, even though they probably kill it. But, you know, I think stories are really important when it comes to that. So like, if you're thinking about doing a business and you want to be able to attract a large group of people specifically to potentially invest in you, have an awesome story to get them fired up and excited. I mean, that's what I did, you know.
Yeah, I don't really have much here. I've been self-employed since I was like 9. So I you know, started with Pokemon cards, and that went well for a little while when I was like 12, you know, 10. But no, and then it was just sports after that. So, and of course I picked a sport where it was just me on the court by myself. So I don't think there was ever, and this may sound a little crazy, but I'm sure my mom would say that this is what I said, is I don't know that I ever wanted to work for someone or do that. That wasn't anything. I always knew that there was things that I wanted to get done, but I liked betting on myself. I would always want to bet on myself because I believed in it. One thing I'll touch on, and Michael said it too, is like, if you're not solving a problem, or you don't know your why you're doing something, like what are you doing, and really believing in that and being able to paint the picture. And a good example is like Michael's new company, Kreatures of Habit. I'd mentioned before that I was an investor, and I'm going to walk them through this for a second. So Michael's a really successful entrepreneur, and we've been friends. So he came in, told me about Kreatures of Habit, and the first thing he said was, I'm just going to flat out tell you why it's going to work. Like, this is why it's going to work. And it was so clean and simple to me on why it was going to work. And he told this amazing story, you know, like a real nice grandmother. He told this amazing story, and I was like, this makes sense, right? Because you knew he believed in it, he showed the passion, and did it. So knowing what problem you're solving, I think is really important. And if you have this job where you're making a salary and you're thinking a little bit about, man, do I want to risk it or do it? You know, if you have this problem that you can solve and you really believe in it and you know how to tell someone how you're going to do it, it's a really good sign that maybe you should take a shot.
Love it. All the gems. Luckily, this is going to be on Coffee and a Good Vibe. So if you guys are not already subscribed, we are on every podcast platform. And also, all these guests have been on Coffee and a Good Vibe. Mona's going to be next, but on solo episodes. So you guys can hear like a full-on story hour with each of them on the podcast. There's lots of content on there. But I just want to thank every single one of you for showing up tonight. We're going to have, there's beverages, there's Creatures of Habit. I know everyone just run there and grab some Creatures of Habit.
Bunch, guys, so grab a bunch. I brought a lot. Grab a bunch.
It's so awesome. And guys, connect with the speakers, connect with each other. This is what it's all about. And again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. Thank you.